I'm just your average Joe from the Big Apple, you know? It's about this thing called CPS, Child Protective Services. Now don't get me wrong, they're supposed to be the good guys, right? But what if I told you that sometimes they might be overstepping their bounds? Let me paint you a picture. Imagine a happy family, just like yours maybe. They're sitting down for dinner when suddenly, knock knock, CPS is at the door. Now here's where things get tricky. Did you know that without a warrant, they can't just barge in and take your kids? And it doesn't stop there, folks. There's a whole list of constitutional rights that might be getting trampled on, like the right to due process, or the right to parent your children without government interference. Pretty important stuff, huh? Now, I'm not saying CPS is all bad. They do important work. But when they overstep, it can tear families apart. And let me tell you, it happens more often than you'd think. Families across America are facing this every day. It's not just about one or two cases. We're talking about a systemic issue that needs addressing. So what can we do? Well, for starters, we gotta educate ourselves. Know your rights, folks. And if you see something that doesn't seem right, speak up. We're all in this together after all. It's time we start asking the tough questions. How can we ensure CPS is held accountable? What checks and balances are in place, and are they really working? Remember, it's about protecting our kids and our rights. We can do both, can't we? So let's work together to make the system better. This is your average Joe from New York signing off. Stay savvy.
They are taking our kids every day. A child a minute, no one has a thing to say. For those who have been isolated, don't be worried, you have a voice today. So listen up everyone, here is the story. Child Protective Services is real. CPS is what they call it. They want our kids because it fills a lot of people's wallet. We all think it won't be us. We say when they come we will be so tough. It all sounds good when there's no one to take them. But when they come, your voice gets to breaking. Stay calm, step away. CPS ain't taking no one today. We are educated. Stay calm, step away. CPS, you need to leave. I know the tricks up your sleeve. You can't do what you're trying to do. We've done our homework. Don't do a damn thing without a warrant. You know the number. We'll steal our kids this way. Tiff and the Punisher have come for the calling. They are giving us the CPS warning. Their voice is loud and clear. We stop losing our kids this year. Tiff wants to fight the entire planet. She is tired of our kids being taken, goddammit. She's been fighting CPS for 30 years, bringing children home from this disgusting mess. The Punisher is screaming out loud, abolish CPS and tear it down. I want all our kids to come back. Look at all those kids, pictures held up like thin tags. Together we are stronger than we need. We will tear down CPS with high speed. We will do so much being together. Birds of a feather flock together. So watch out CPS, here we come. Picking you one by one. We promise to bring back the family and prosecute the caseworkers unhandily. So give us back the kids you have taken. Tiff and the Punisher, sending you all on a vacation. The one with bars in the windows, and the only games you play are on Nintendos. Corruption in courts, here we come. We won't stop until it's done. You judges need to learn what you stand for. This is Tiff and the Punisher Warrior, and we cry out to all of you out there. We need support for a cause that many don't care. All children are being stolen way too often. So CPS, we plan on doing the stopping. Stop it.
Oh, for gosh sakes. Hold on a minute. Let me adjust this. This is ridiculous. I gotta pull myself together here. So what's up, Tiff? How was your weekend?
Not much. It's Monday.
Yeah, it is. All kinds of things happened this weekend, huh?
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, we're on the move. Things are happening.
Yes, they are. Did you get the poster the thing that I sent you about the rally?
I sure did. I was just looking at it.
I'm sorry. The baby's crying.
That's all right. Yes, I did. And I think it looks nice. All right. I just lied to you. I didn't see it. There we go. That's better. Yeah. So the rally. Oh, you know what else I forgot to tell you too? So we got the rally on the 22nd, right?
Yep.
All right. So we're going to do another Mr. President on Donald Trump's birthday.
Oh, on June 14th?
Yeah. So we'll do a Mr. President show on the 14th.
Cool.
How do you feel about that?
Hey, whatever works.
That's right. As long as we get the president, we got it one way or the other, we'll get to him.
Yeah. And we have a weigh in with Danielle.
Yeah, we got closer, but I mean, we need to get to the man himself. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
I mean, that would be the ideal thing. And you know, he goes out and he talks to people. So I mean, it's not too far fetched to hope that, you know, this will be the next. I feel like Mr. Rogers. Let me get my sweatshirt on and change my shoes and put a little different hat on, and you know, it's not too far fetched to think that he might not listen to us, or he might listen to, you know what I mean, and answer. You know, it's just, you never know. I watch all these people that get in there with him and talk to him and stuff, and I'm like, well, why can't we? You know, I think it's just hit or miss with him. And you know, there was a minute there that I was feeling like we were watching the taillights go back. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, man, the CPS thing's over with. But I don't think so. I think we're just seeing the beginning of this stuff. I think with the RFK coming out with the food coloring things and going to, I think that he's the one that's going to start nailing these people to the cross. That's my opinion anyway.
Well, and I think Pam Bondi might have a little bit to do with it too, because she's already taken the federal funding from CASA, however you want to say it, and the GAL.
Yep. Yeah, that's good. And what's great is, oh wow, that's really good. But you know what? That's crazy because they just refunded that too. They just got refunding. Was it this past year? So that's awesome that they said no. Because I think they're slipping a lot of money into between the CASA thing and then the Title IV. It's like they dance back and forth between the two, you know, to see where they can hide their money. I mean, there's a lot. I wonder what the amount is between both of them, between both programs. I wonder how much money they put out a year. And actually, I'm gonna find that out right now.
Yeah, go to datarepublican.com and find out how much money they get from grants.
Yeah, I thought I had it written down in the old trusty notebook here. Oh yeah, and there was a great. Our buddy Naylor put out a great video the other day about the supremacy clause. Oh, Chris says he needs to pray for his son. So everybody out there, prayer warriors coming at you. We need to pray for Chris's son. I'm not sure what's going on there, but it doesn't really matter. Just pray for him anyway, because he's asked for it. But Chris put out a great Naylor put out a great video the other day on the supremacy clause. It's like 4 minutes. Maybe if we have time today, we'll play it. Because I didn't know so much about this supremacy clause as well. It's what is it? The Sixth Amendment, right? That's under. I believe it is. They're really screwing us on that whole supremacy clause thing and how they use that Sixth Amendment right. That's what it is, the sixth, right? Like they really courts, these judges that are going against us with our TPRs and everything, they should be getting the pedal to the metal. Like these guys are screwing us hard on our constitutional rights. And this is bullshit when they sit there and say, oh, we don't do the Constitution here, or they, blah, 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 blah. You know what? Let me see if I can pull up that video because it's worth all of us watching here.
Yeah, I want to see it too. I haven't seen it.
Everybody, it's really, it's built kind of like one of the videos that I do, but it's pretty. I'll just pull it up like we just said here. Let's see. It was in CPS breaking news. There we go. All right, let's see here. Yeah, here it is. Boom. So let's take a check on this thing here. Share.
Constitution. Article 6 contains 3 vital clauses establishing fundamental
We
principles.
started over here. There we go. All right, here we go.
Though often overshadowed by other aspects of the
Make it
Constitution,
big.
Article 6 contains 3 vital clauses establishing fundamental principles for America's constitutional system. These provisions address the continuity of national debts, the supremacy of federal law, and oath requirements for office holders and religious tests for office. It's critical to comprehend each clause as it was understood in the 18th century, and the framers' design of these provisions to correct weaknesses in the Articles of Confederation to establish an effective national government. The first clause of Article 6, the Debts Clause, is a promise to honor the nation's commitments. All debts contracted and engagements entered into before the adoption of this Constitution shall be as valid against the United States under this Constitution as under the Confederation. This clause ensures that all debts incurred before the Constitution remain valid. Imagine a nation struggling under heavy debt. Foreign creditors, like those from France and the Netherlands, were anxious about being paid back. The Founding Fathers wanted to reassure them. This clause promised to honor those financial commitments and laid the groundwork for the United States' credibility on the global stage. This provision reflected the framers' practical understanding that a nation's credit depends on honoring its commitments. The second clause of Article 6, the Supremacy Clause, is perhaps the most consequential Article 6 provision. It established a hierarchy of law with the following provision. This Constitution, and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made, or which shall be made, under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby, anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding. This clause establishes that the Constitution is the highest law in the land. If state laws conflict with federal laws win. This provision resolved Articles of Confederation issues, where states often ignored national directives. Under the Articles of Confederation, several states had enacted laws that violated the Treaty of Peace with Great Britain. Britain used these violations as excuses to maintain troops in American territory. States erected trade barriers against each other, and conflicting state laws on national matters created confusion and inefficiency. In Federalist 44, James Madison emphasized that without this supremacy, national authority would be undermined. The framers understood that for a federal system to function, there must be a clear hierarchy of laws. The Supremacy Clause establishes this hierarchy with remarkable precision. First, the Constitution itself stands at the apex of American law. Second come federal laws, but only those made in pursuance of the Constitution. This qualification is critical. As Alexander Hamilton explained in Federalist No. 33, laws not authorized by the Constitution would not be the supreme law of the land, but a usurpation of power not granted by the Constitution. Third are treaties made under the authority of the United States, requiring presidential negotiation and ratification by 2/3 of the Senate. Fourth are state constitutions and laws, with state judges explicitly bound to follow federal law when conflict between state and federal law arise. The third clause of Article 6 contains two distinct but related provisions: the oath and no religious test. Clauses require government officials to support the Constitution while prohibiting religious tests for holding office, and reads as follows. The senators and representatives before mentioned, and the members of the several state legislatures, and all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution, but no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. The oath requirement played a crucial role in uniting the young nation. It united officials across states under a shared commitment, transforming individual states into one nation. In 1787, few Americans considered the United States a country. They thought of the 13 states as individual sovereign nations in a loose confederation. Requiring all officials, federal and state, swear an oath to support the Constitution created personal obligations that transcended state boundaries. This was revolutionary in 1787. In 1787, this was a significant step toward national unity, transforming a wobbly alliance into a real nation with shared principles. Today, we take for granted that government officials across the United States, from federal judges to local library board members, swear to support the Constitution. The No Religious Test Clause was equally radical. The Constitution went into operation before the First Amendment guarantee of religious freedom. Religious tests to hold office were common in both England and many states in 1787. Banning such tests for federal office also furthered the goal of national unity. Preventing religious discrimination in government service established an early principle of religious liberty in American governance and separated religious affiliation from qualification for public service. Article 6 remains a cornerstone of the American constitutional system, establishing fundamental principles that shape the relationship between federal and state authority, ensure governmental continuity, and protect religious freedom in public service. In summary, Article 6 establishes critical principles. The Debts Clause secures America's financial integrity. The Supremacy Clause clarifies the rule of law. The Oath and No Religious Test clauses promote unity and protect individual freedoms. The enduring significance of Article 6 lies in the establishment of fundamental principles that still guide the American constitutional system more than 2 centuries after its adoption. Dive deeper into the Constitution and discover more about how it affects your life today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below.
I liked it.
That's I mean, how we don't know, like, that just very much clarified the fact that the Constitution is the rule of the land. Like, that's it. That's the end of the day. That's all that matters. And these judges are, by God, supposed to follow suit with what they're saying. I mean, that's it. That just said it clear as day. And the judges are bound by that. Their oath of office states that. So if they're not letting the Constitution and their federal rules go above and beyond what their state, that's the only thing I didn't say. That did say state laws in there, and there is no such thing as state laws because Congress themselves didn't make that law. The only laws that we have are the ones that Congress themselves pass.
Actually, he did say state constitutions, and I've been saying that that's the only law the state has is their
Right.
constitution.
Yep. And that's And that's what I had been telling people too. If your judge tells you that they don't follow the Constitution, then start ripping out your state constitution, even though they're supposed to be following that Constitution anyway. It doesn't, pull your state constitution out because that trumps it too. And they have to follow that because they're working for the state. So,
well, if you look up their oaths in every state, and I have all 50 states, their oaths, every state says when they take their oath to uphold the state constitution and the Constitution of the United States of America. That's what every state's oath says for everybody who's elected or affirmed or whatever.
Right. Yeah, so that's good stuff. That's good stuff to know, because they've been getting away with this. We don't do this. We don't follow that. The Constitution doesn't matter here. Which each state constitution defers to the surrounding clause of which each state constitution. Somewhat, they don't all fall directly in line with the Constitution. There are different, like Gunner said, the Tennessee Constitution says that. Oh shoot, what was it? Gunner, what is that one that you said that your state said? I was surprised by it. Oh shoot, fire. He'll put it up there in a minute, but there's a weird rule in the Tennessee one, but that doesn't matter anyway, because the federal Constitution trumps the state constitution. So it doesn't matter really what your state says if the Constitution doesn't fall in line with it. And then that should make everything void anyway, if he doesn't, because that's Mulberry versus Madison right there, that if it doesn't fall in line with the Constitution, then
it can't be enforced.
Right. There's no rule. What's that? Repugnant. It's repugnant of the Constitution, or
yeah.
You know what? My brain hasn't been right since I've been home. And Mary's been saying that. It's crazy. I'm like slow. So I apologize.
Well, Virginia's Constitution mimics the Constitution of the United States, and partly the reason it does is because, like, I forgot how many we looked up the other day that said that they were from Virginia. I think it was 3 or no, I don't remember. But Virginia was one of the 13 colonies, and the 3 of the signers of the Declaration or whatever, the Constitution, were from Virginia anyway. So the Virginia Constitution almost mimics the Constitution of the United States.
Yeah. So use that, like I said, if your judges say that they don't follow it, then use your state constitution to whatever the closest thing that you can use it for. Because they have to. I mean, you can back them right into a corner with that stuff. Which leads me to the next thing is, why do we have to go to the federal courts to get a ruling on constitutional stuff? Why do we have to go to federal courts for them to ask questions or to answer questions for the Constitution? Why do we have to do that?
Because, well, I know why. Because the federal, like, if you have a question from the lower courts dealing with the Constitution, that's what they deal with. All the stuff in the federal government comes strictly out of the Constitution of the United States. Has nothing to do with the state constitutions at all.
Right.
So that's why if you have an issue like with all federal cases and Supreme Court cases can be heard in state courts, right? They just tell you that that's not true. But it is true. The United States Supreme Court has said that.
Right.
So then you can now challenge that in federal court, and they will clearly say that the lower courts erred, because you'll have the case. I have the case. I think I sent it to you, Darren. We need the federal courts.
Marbury versus Madison. No, but what I'm saying is why is it that we need to use them because they're supposed to be ruling with the Constitution regardless. So we shouldn't actually need these federal courts to step in, because if these judges were in line with what they're supposed to be doing, then they should be following the Constitution, and there shouldn't be a question of why.
Well, that's because Well, that's because people don't challenge them unless they're people like us.
Right.
And if
Which is
people
what.
don't know their state constitution or the Constitution of the United States and they know they have the right to challenge that, they're not going to challenge it because the courts aren't going to tell you what your rights are. It's your duty as an American citizen to know what your rights are. In fact, do you know that people that come here to become natural citizens or whatever they
Yeah.
do you know that almost 80% of that test deals with the Constitution?
Yeah, they have to learn all that stuff. They need to learn the entire Constitution. I mean, I think we should do that for everybody in this country. If we don't do it in schools, I think we should, as you know what, like when you do the draft for that, when you become a selective service and everything, you should have to redo a test, when you're 18 or something to see if you still are in tune with the Constitution. Because you know what, if everybody knew the Constitution and knew their rights, we would have less of this thing going on with them taking our children. Because at least we would know that you can't go in the home without a warrant. You can't do this. You can't do. There are a lot of things that the government, for instance, the Fifth Amendment. You're allowed in CPS. Like you should be using the Fifth Amendment when you're in CPS, especially if you have a criminal case against you with your child, because you don't want to in family court or whatever court you're in. You don't want to be giving out the information that they need because they rule differently in that. So you plead the Fifth. Now, in my case, for instance, and I challenged this in the appeal, and why they got away with this, I have no idea. They did a couple of things that I challenged, but I pled the Fifth on like 140 questions that the Attorney General had asked me because they had nothing to do with. Look, as far as I'm concerned, when you're at court for them removing the rights of you being a parent, they should be asking you questions about you being a parent, not a crime that potentially or allegedly committed that was away from your home, that didn't involve your kid, that didn't, you know what I mean? Like had nothing to do with anything that went on in my home life, didn't affect my home life, didn't come back to it. The only thing that if it did really happen, that would have affected it was I would have gone to jail. And then even that, it says that going to jail as an incarcerated parent doesn't affect, like they can't come after you for that. Even though they do it to a lot of parents, they can't do that. But the judge said that since I used the Fifth Amendment, that she was able to use her,
Discretion.
yeah, discretion. That wasn't the word, but whatever the word, just like that, her discretion, and waived my right to the Fifth Amendment and found me guilty on all charges. So they used that against me when they TPR'd me, saying that the crime that I allegedly committed was she found me guilty. So they ruled on it as if I was found guilty, and it, like again, it wasn't. It had nothing to do with the family. It had nothing to do with anything like that. And they ruled that way on it too. So she just threw away my Fifth Amendment right to, deny me my Fifth Amendment because I decided to not answer questions that had nothing to do with that. But that's why you have a Fifth Amendment, to protect yourself in case you're, in your criminal. That's why I don't understand how they can go take you to court. So if you did a crime, you should be done with your criminal case before you have to go in front of the TPR, judge or the hearing. They're doing that backwards, and they're doing it on purpose. They're doing it so that they can put you in a death grip and get you TPR'd, even if they find you not guilty or whatever. Like my stuff, all my cases were dismissed. Everything was dismissed. So everything that they found me guilty of, 2 weeks later, after they wrote their decision, they find me guilty. That's not right. The crime, and again, the crime had nothing to do with a child. So why am I in court for child neglect when the crime had nothing to do with what went on? And this is what they're doing to people. There should be a rule that if you're not charged, and I thought that there was one, and I've never been able to find it since I did read it. It must have been a state case law or something along those lines. But it said right there, if you can only be terminated, your rights can only be terminated if you have been convicted of child abuse or child neglect or something in a criminal court. That's the only way. And it should be that way because one, there's a difference in the way that you're found guilty. Like if you're found guilty in this criminal court, then that's a much higher level of good.
I think that was a Supreme Court case. Go through the 154 cases that I sent you because I think
Yep.
it's in there. And actually it's, you're right, convicted of physical abuse and neglect sexual abuse, and of course, murder. There were three things that could
Yeah.
only terminate your rights, and those were the three things. But let me tell you something. Here in Virginia, I think I said it before, even if somebody sexually assaults their child, they will still get visits with that child here in Virginia.
Kind of, I mean, I get it, but kind of a strange, probably supervised, I'd imagine.
I don't know. But my whole thing is, if your rights can be terminated over that, why aren't these rights being terminated? And why is this child having to look at their abuser?
Right.
That's mental abuse.
That's abuse. Everything that the state does, once they remove our child is considered abuse and neglect. If you look at the rules and the laws and how they think, the things that they go by there, whether it's their crap on, my God, the state's rules, the state's, the way the state has, come on, brain, statutes and codes, right? It's all in them. It's all abuse and neglect, what they do. Like CPS would be on your ass if you did what the state does to us as parents. Like if we did anything that remotely looked at like what the state does to us, they would be, and they'd have every right to stop seeing your kid, not allowed to do this, don't do that, changing them, putting them at the home with a stranger. All of that stuff is abuse and neglect, tearing them out of a home without a warrant, all of that stuff. Man, it's just absolutely asinine, and we're letting them get away with it every day. Child a minute is still being taken out of home, if not more, like we found. And we need to, we're doing things, we're taking action steps, we're getting out there, but it seems like it's just not enough. It's not like, where do we got to go? Like, what kind of impact is it going to take for more people to follow us, for more people to look at what we're talking about? And I don't just mean me and you, all of this whole organization and what this movement is doing, because it's like people still aren't listening, and they don't, but they're going to start listening because they're running out of kids in the lower levels to take. They're slowly encroaching on middle-class America, and then it's going to be a big deal. And then that's going to be where we see the C's, I think, because now people are going to be paying for lawyers. They're going to be doing this. They're going to be doing for that. And not that parents, like I'm sure you did. I know I have. I've used the state's lawyers, and I've also used my own lawyers, and so we had, means at the time to do that. I couldn't do it now, but like at the time we were doing very well, which was another reason. Like, why did you come in and ruin our lives? Why did you? That's exactly what you did, was you destroyed a happy family of 4 and a dog, and you just destroyed it. For what reason? Me making a stupid mistake? And I didn't even make the mistake. It was alleged and it went away. It was dismissed. But why should the whole family be punished? Not only just the whole family, but why should that child be punished because the adult did a crime elsewhere that had nothing to do with the kid? That makes absolutely zero sense, because that's the point in time when that kid needs his mom or her dad or whatever, that other parent that's in trouble because that other parent isn't there. Instead, you take all the parents and the whole family away from that kid. What the hell are they thinking? How does that make sense? And then there's plenty of studies now that show, like the harm removal, the one done by the University of Baltimore. I talk about it all the time. It says right in there, even if a kid is actually abused, you're doing more harm to them by removing them from their family than you would be if you left them there. Now, they're not talking about, life-threatening, abuse, but we're talking about spanking and, general capital punishment that's, within reason of the law. But, obviously, if you're locking your kid in the basement and throwing slop down at them and doing shit like that, yeah, you deserve, to get looked at. But, that's just it. And I just don't know. I don't know what more we got to do to get this next level of people to only not understand it only when their kid gets taken, but before that, because, if anything, they should be listening to what we're talking about and what we're saying, because they're coming for you, middle-class America. They are coming for you. This is no longer going to be a poverty game like people have been trying to label it as. It's not going to be that way because the kids are getting slim. I know it's crazy, but when I first started this thing, I was the only person that I knew that had a child taken by CPS and TPR. I was like, damn, I thought that this was whatever. I thought it was only one, like one person that this happened to, and it'd be easy. But then all I know now is people that had their kids taken by CPS, and there's people that are around here. I don't know whether they come to you because it happened to you, and that's kind of like the signal that you put out in the air or whatever. But every new person I even meet has had CPS involvement in their lives. So I don't know if it's becoming more common or if it's like this is just my my frequency that I put out there, and these are the people I'm meeting. I don't know, but it seems like there is a whole hell of a lot more people out there that CPS are affecting than not. And that's the way. I know you, Deidre. You're right there, and we do love you very much. So, Dr. Death wants to know: so, do you file a criminal charge on the state judge then to file a 1983?
Yeah, if they tell you that the Constitution does not apply in their courtroom, they have just levied war against the Constitution, and in the Constitution it says that it's treason. Absolutely, it is a crime to violate somebody's constitutional rights. It's a crime.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the reasons that people are having a hard time is because, like I said before, unless it happens to them,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't happen, right? We're all
That's what I
fucking
said, yeah.
crazy. And
Yeah.
two, we all have to admit there's a lot of people that quote unquote call themselves advocates that are taking money, not doing the right thing, giving out wrong information, and they just don't know who to trust. Honestly.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. 1,000%. 1,000,000,000% I agree with that. It makes it very tough when you have people that are working against you in the same measure. Because listen, you're not going to get rich in this. You're not going to get rich doing this stuff. You're not going to get rich in any of those this category because no one has any money anyway. And even if they did, they've already spent it. You know what I mean? Like that's just it. So why these advocates feel that it's even remotely okay to even just go out and try to trickle some money out of these people and falsely do it. I mean, it's one thing to do it. It's one thing to do your job and get paid for it. That's fine. I have no problem with people doing that. Look, I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to do this. Here's what I'm capable of doing. You're going to pay me this amount of money and that's it. And you agree to it. Fine. But if you tell them, first of all, the way that you know an advocate's lying to you is that they guarantee you they're going to get your kid back. That should be your first indication that an advocate is not telling the truth, that they're lying to you, and that you should definitely run away from them. Secondly, is if they ask for some astronomical amount of money up front when they're not even a lawyer or any sort of professional in those fields, that's another clear indication that you should go away from them. The reasons lawyers cost so much is because they have thousands and thousands of dollars in school bills that they have to pay. Like they're just like doctors, the same thing. They've invested a lot of time in their education and a lot of money, and it's got to be paid back. So that's with that. So if those two things happen with an advocate, turn and walk away. But there's nothing wrong with asking people, look, I'll do this for you, and you give me this amount of money, and we'll ensure that we do it. But don't lie to these parents. These parents will spend their life savings. If you tell them that you're going to get their kids back, they'll sell their house. They'll do whatever the fuck they have to get that money. And that's not right to work on that pendulum and like to throw that in there. This thing right here that Luann said, they canceled all visits with Lynn against what the judge said. The judge is the only person that can cancel visitation. That's contempt of court. That's, you need to go back to court immediately, file against that because they're now avoiding the judge's order. So as they can come after you for things that you don't do for the judge, what the judge says, like drug tests and those things, you do the same damn thing to them when they do that. Because the judge is the only person that can cancel your visitations or alter them. Everybody, don't ever forget that. CPS cannot just stop you from seeing your kids. They can't. It's all based on what the judge's rulings are. And people are starting to forget that stuff too.
And it's actually called a motion to show cause. That's what you have to file, which means you're filing so that they can show cause to the judge why her visits were pulled against the judge's orders for visitation.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you. And the first thing I tell people is I can't guarantee anything. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't. And the second thing, if they even offer me money, I say, look, man, you might need that money for a lawyer. You better save that money.
Mm-hmm.
My information is free, and I'll help you as far as I can. I will get you as far as I can get you.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's as much as you can do, and that's it. Dr. Death says he trusts us, so that's good to know. But still saying that, Dr. Death, that's awesome, and thank you. But listen, check everything that we say. We put it on the thing on the bottom. Always, always, always. I mean, we pride ourselves on this network of not telling any lies to anybody. We don't put any information out there that isn't been checked, that isn't the truth. And like I watch every show of every episode that goes through this network. And if I see someone saying something that's not true, you damn well know that I'm coming right out on their show and I'm stopping what they're saying right there. It's happened many times where I've questioned these people because we don't want that here. We don't want anything. We want nothing that comes out of any of our mouths to be misinformation is the word. I think I remember that one. So misinformation. But thank you for trusting us all the time. But you know what? Do your diligence and do your homework too, and make sure you check on what we say, because we could be wrong too. We're only humans, like we don't, we don't always get things. Well, Tiffany does, but the rest of us possibly don't always get things in the right way. So make sure you check everything that we all say. Can CPS stop you from sending pictures to your kids?
That could be a state thing. I don't know. I want to say no, but you better check, because sometimes they will stop you from sharing pictures and bringing gifts and all. Let's
look it up.
I don't always know. You got to always check.
Can CPS stop you from sending?
And then how are you sending the pictures? Through a phone? If you have a phone, I don't see how they can stop you.
Well, I mean, saying that they stop you, but I think too that, why do I feel like I read somewhere that you have to, if you're going to send your kid pictures, that it has to go through the caseworker maybe or something? I'm looking it up right now to see what the rules are, but I feel like I read that somewhere, is that, because I know that they've done that. I know that they've stopped it for me. I know that they stopped it for a lot of people that I know. This couple that I've been dealing with in New Hampshire, they are, they are, it's okay. It can stay like that. They're already taken away. Their kid's been gone for not even 2 months. And they're already trying to stop they do the video visits with them every night. And they did this to my wife and I. They did it to the end. But it's funny, and I don't know about any of you guys out there too. When you first get that foster family involved with your kid, they're all, "Oh, you guys are great, and we're great, and we're just here to make sure that you get your kid back, and blah 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 blah, and all this stuff, and they love you." And then slowly, they go to these foster classes. And I'd love to know. Mary wants to take these foster classes because she wants to know what the hell they say to them. Because slowly you see disengagement between the foster family the longer time goes, and then all of a sudden the kid doesn't want to talk on the phone with you at night and do those video visits, and then the foster family starts to disengage, where you guys used to see each other before the visits and blah 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 blah, and those things no longer happen. It's almost like they have a playbook that they go by, and they're like, "Okay, listen, now you guys are going to have to do this, this, and this, and now that you work and you've got the foster license, you got to disengage," or these things. It's yes, it's funny. I heard someone say that yesterday. It's cultural genocide, but that's what they're doing, and they slowly are disengaging you. Now, as far as the all of that goes and sending pictures, I don't know, but what you got to remember is that when your kid goes into a foster home, they got to live that life too. So now you've got a little kid that doesn't even understand his own emotions, but he understands that you can see the look on the foster family's face when you're like all excited because mom and dad are calling. So now these kids can't be excited anymore because they thought that you guys had some type of a relationship that was meaningful and everything. So you could see the hurt in their face, because it's not an easy job to be a foster parent. They become it. I bet, their intentions are for the money, I'm sure, when they first get into this, but then they start getting attached to the children, and that this is going to happen. I mean, you can't be with someone 24/7, 7 days a week, and knowing that, you just can't. It's impossible for you to not grow attached, or you know what I mean, or have some sort of emotion. So now these parents are feeling the emotion, which now will have them lash out at the kids, you know, which isn't their fault. And they know it's, but it's still now that's part of it. So these kids have to walk on eggshells and cater between both parents, although the other parents are winning now because they have to go home with them. And it's not a win, but it's the kids have to, they don't want to go home and get screamed at. So they got to go do what they've got to do. So don't ever take that stuff personally either, that they're doing it. You know, like they don't not want to have the phone calls with you. They just can't have them because it disrupts what they've got going on in their survival. And that's really what's going on there. They don't want to not talk to you as parents, you know. But that's what they're doing to this couple that have been there for 2 months. It went from they don't want kids, they want nothing to do with this. This is the one I keep telling you guys about with the baby and then the 8-year-old. Now they're great kids, and the family's seeing this on top of seeing the money. And now the visits are going away. Now they don't want to visit. Now this older son doesn't want to come and visit them anymore. And now this is happening and this is happening. And, you know, and the CPS agent is just taking away this stuff slow, you know, bit by bit. And like I keep telling them, like, you got to fight like hell for this. Don't allow this to happen. You know, they're stopping them from going to doctor's visits. No, you go to every one of your kids' doctor's visits. Those are still your kids. Until they terminate your rights, those are your kids. You fight like hell to get those doctor visits to make sure you stay going there. Because if you don't, they are going to run you over. You know, it's, what's Deidre saying here?
One of the things in that webinar that we did,
Yeah.
was the best interest of the child. They actually said that the foster parents and the bio parents need to work together,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
right? But they said the system tries to keep them apart because they know that they're moving towards TPRing, right? Because the state's about to get a whole bunch of money off these kids.
Yep.
Instead of the foster parents, in fact, 2 of the lawyers said that they filed a petition or motion, whatever, to remove the children from the one foster family because they were trying to keep the kids, to a foster family that's wanted to reunify them.
And it should be that way.
Judge moved the children from the ones that wanted to keep them to the reunification ones.
Yeah, it should be that way. Absolutely. Because it's not, and you can get them for, if the foster family is doing that, you can get them for what is it, parental interference or interference?
Custodial interference. I think it's custodial interference.
Yep, you can, because a lot of this, just like Deidre said, this is what happened to her kids. You know, like with their son, they didn't want the son, and you know they're just there to get the money real quick and raise a baby, and then now look, you know, Deidre's without her son. You know, and they went from, you know, like, oh, you will be a part of their life, and you know, we'll make sure we send you pictures and all this stuff. Everybody says what they want you to hear until, you know, time goes by, life goes on, and now that gets closer, and that's their kid now. That's not yours anymore. That's theirs, you know, and they start getting that attachment, you know, especially once you're TPR'd and you have no rights, they have that upper hand, you know, and it is up to them, and that sucks. But that's just the way that goes, you know.
Well, I am glad that the Children's Center for Law, or Children's Law Center, whatever it's called, and the American Bar Association, I am glad that they are working on ending TPRs, because they said that it deprives these children of their heritage, their inheritance, and everything that goes along with that.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a plus. That is a plus. I will give them that.
Yeah, you know, and it's even more of a plus that Donald Trump's trying to get rid of the bar itself.
He sure is.
So, I mean, they're striving to do things, but on the other side, you know, Trump's trying to say, you know what, get rid of this club, because that's all it is. It's a membership. It's a Mickey Mouse fan club is all it is. You know, you pay us to get into the courtroom. You pay us to get, you know, your name out there and get on these things. That's all. Like, being a bar lawyer is no different than you just graduated law school. You know, big deal. You have the backing of you know, a huge club, but you know, It doesn't affect how you. I know people that haven't even gone to law school that we all talk to on here that could blow a lawyer out of the water with family law, that haven't even touched a courtroom or haven't even touched a law degree, a law school book or anything. And because of what they've learned when they're fighting CPS, they could destroy any of these people. And they should be able to go and represent someone anyway, but because of what they're turning everything into, they can't. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles. It
That's a
sucks.
violation because the Constitution, not one word in there, not one word is lawyer. It's counsel.
Yeah, counsel, right? Even in your Miranda rights, they read it wrong. It's supposed to say counsel, not lawyer,
Counsel.
right?
Yep.
But yeah, that's it. That's part of that. Um, Man, I'll tell you, all this stuff is like a freaking, and it's all the problem is that everything's wrong. Like they're doing everything against what their own rules and regulations are. Just like the visits thing. Like the judge is the only one that can determine that. That's in every state statute and code, every place that you look in every state, because we did that a long time ago. We went and looked that up. Every state says the judge is the only one that can rule on your visitations. And the only thing that they can do is CPS, if it's an absolute endangerment situation, they can suspend your visit for like that week, but you need to be in court immediately after there explaining to the judge why your visits were canceled or why they feel it's this way or that way. So that's the judge always needs to rule. That's what you guys need to remember. If you don't feel that CPS is doing something right, the judge isn't far away from you. They make that judge distant from you. There are ways for you to get into the judge's head. There are ways for you to do it. You can't directly write the judge a letter, but you can file motions. You can tell your lawyer to file motions on your behalf. You can do all kinds of things so that the judge makes sure that they have to read that when it comes across their desk. If you file that motion, tell your lawyer that you want them to file this paper. Because don't forget, these lawyers work for you. At the end of the day, they don't get to make the decisions. You do. Not us. I mean, not them. They don't get to decide, oh, well, I don't want to file that motion because bullshit. If that's what you feel in your heart you need to do, then you force them or you make a complaint to the bar or to the commission or whomever you got to make a complaint to, that those lawyers aren't following suit with what you say. This is where we're all losing in these courtroom battles that we have no idea how to fight because we didn't know our rights. We didn't know what, and that's where this stuff leads to, that Tiffany's, preaching to everybody, because it's right from the street to the courtroom. Like that's where you got to go. If you don't know what you're arguing in that courtroom, that judge is going to spit you out. You need to know your constitution. You need to know. You can't just go in there flubbing around being like, oh, my constitution, and think that the judge is going to stay suit with you. You need to know these rules and these laws and all this stuff that Tiff's trying to spit out and make you guys understand. Because if you go into the courtroom and you can't explain those things, they're going to say that you're incompetent. And that's a whole nother road that you don't want to go down for certain. Because that comes with, you could be they could put you in a medical freaking facility, say that you're crazy or, all of these things. So this is a very intricate balance with the judge at the top of the food chain there, even though we are the people. But in the courtroom, that's where it is. So we, the people, need to get to that judge and tell that judge what's going on. And that's what we're doing and trying to get people to understand that you're not getting there without your rights and without everybody knowing that you know your rights.
And even if your attorney doesn't file your paperwork, it is the right of the people to access the court. File it your damn self. I tell people mail it in because once they sign for it, they have to file it.
Yep. It is against the law for the clerk not to file everything that you bring in there, even if it's bullshit. The clerk has to file whatever you put in that courtroom.
Sure do.
Dr. Death, make a complaint on your attorney. Make a complaint on the attorney. Like that's what you got to do.
Dr. Death, start filing your own stuff.
Yeah.
Just start mail it in certified mail, because whoever signs for it, you got proof when the little green piece of paper comes back that it was accepted by the clerk.
Mm-hmm. That's all you got to do. That's it. Deidre says, boys, then we didn't lose our rights. To see what I didn't see what she wrote there. I was on my rant. The part I don't understand, all three of my boys, is that just because the foster parents wanted to adopt, I lost my rights. But because my mom was willing to be the legal guardian of my two older boys, I didn't lose my rights. Yeah, that's some bullshit. That's definitely, because how can you not be granted your mom has guardianship, but you can't be not good enough for two and good enough for two and not one. It doesn't make any sense at all. But
Well,
yeah, again, that's that
same thing
custodial
happened to me.
interference. Mm-hmm.
I was good enough to raise three of them, but not the fourth one.
Mm-hmm. Well, like we yeah. It's just just remember that no one can do a damn thing but the judge. That's the way it's got. If CPS says something, to challenge the shit out of it. Challenge it, because the judge needs to be able. The judge has to. The judge has to rule. That's just the way it is. Look up your state statutes, codes, and all of that stuff. And Deidre, I don't think we're going to do a field trip this week. We're just getting back in that people are getting used to us being back. We will come back, but we're just trying to get our numbers back up and getting people used to us being back. It's nothing against you or Mr. Davis or none of that stuff. There's no animosity about that. It's just that we're just trying to get ourselves back to our routine, so that way people are back to knowing that we're here. I mean, we went a month without shows. It was my fault, but
Well,
not
I had
directly,
stuff
but
going on
indirectly.
too,
Right.
so it wasn't
But
just your fault.
right. So like one show Tiffany can account for. No, but yeah, it's nothing against you, and we love you, Deidre, and we love Mr. Davis, and we thank him for letting us come on his platform and do what we do. But that's not saying that you can't come over to our place on Wednesdays and you could do your show field trip with us. You come over there. That'd be fun. And that we could do something like that if you want. We have no problems with that. We've been trying to get you on here for a long time. So you could come and field trip with us. So I mean, that's a possibility too. But yeah, we're just trying to make it so everybody knows that we're here, that we're here, and we're not going anywhere anytime soon. So, and you'll understand when you see what the bigger picture of what we're trying to do is. But like I said, that's not canceling out that we're never going to come back to your show and do a field trip. Just not within this month. We're definitely we can't. Yeah. What else we got here? Sad realizing I've been on the wrong side of history. Yeah, we all are on the wrong side of history. That's for damn sure. Let's see. You're both appreciated. I have been foster and adoptive parent in the past. I was duped until I got educated. Now I'm encouraging the birth families of my kiddos to fight with Gunner. Oh, that's good. That's good. Awesome. But here's the thing, Classic Mommy. What did you, when you were a foster parent and you were adoptive parent and all of that, did you always have the mindset that the kids were going away? Or did you ever think, oh, I'm going to, I don't know, or I don't like these parents, so I'm going to do anything to interfere with them getting their reunification or any of that stuff? Did that ever take place? Because that's what I think a lot of stuff happens is too. These caseworkers put a bug in everybody's ear, like, oh, they're drug users or they fail in their drug tests, or even though they're not, because these foster parents just stop talking to you. You know what I mean? There's no more, where the conversation was huge and enlightening and all that stuff at the beginning. By the time they become a foster home, which, CPS is doing that to everybody now. If you want to get these kids, you got to go and get your foster home license, which is bullshit. Why should a kinship people have to go get that? Money. All about the money. So,
well, obviously it's not the money for me, because I'm not signing no damn contract with the state. I don't give a damn. But you won't get your grubby little hands on them. I can promise you that.
Damn no.
Yeah, because you got the right grandma. You bring that shit to my door. You better learn from experience with me. You better learn.
Right. Yeah, Tiffany's she's a force to be reckoned with. I think she's a ass hair away from complete annihilation. Good thing that there are laws that protect people. Because the damage she can do with just her mouth is more than enough to belittle someone and make them feel like they just went 10 rounds with you in the ring. That's for sure.
Yeah, I've made
I've
grown
seen it.
men cry. So,
Mhm.
I mean, yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, so yeah. Will you
Yep.
keep encouraging those birth parents to keep fighting because that's what it's all about.
Yes, it is. You damn right it is. Uh, Sweet. Deidre said, okay, she's going to come with us then.
All right.
All right. So my social worker turned my mom completely against her. Yep. That's what they do. Then my little bit of my family followed suit, but my mom also got addicted to the $2,500 a month she got every month, and that's it. That's a big chunk of change, and you don't have much. If you're retired or whatever, and you're just living on a pension, and then you get yourself an extra, half of 1,000 or 5,000, yeah, that's a lot of money. Um, so don't forget, guys, 9 o'clock tonight we have Sharon's new show, from ashes to beauty, beauty to ashes, ashes to beauty. That starts at 9, and it's a wellness show about how to handle CPS in your brain and in your body and keeping yourself put together. And then tonight after that we have the CPS Victims Hunting Justice show back in full fledged. So that's everybody that's on these shows. Tiff's always in bed, so she doesn't come on to that one. But everybody that does shows here, comes onto that show every night, or not everyone. Whoever shows up, shows up. And we just talk about what took place or what we heard or what we learned or whatever. So, but I say that's our time, Tiff. That was a good one. What do you
Yep.
think?
And I think everybody should watch that show because literally you cannot be strong if your mind, body, and soul is not right because that's what they're attacking. So watch that show every time it comes on because I hear she's really great. And I think it would do a lot of people some good.
Yes, it will. And we'll learn that here in the next half hour. So thank you all. We'll be back tomorrow night, same time, same place, in the same time, same place, period. I know we're always a little bit here or there. I was trying to look for this new video I did that I wanted to end on, but I guess we'll just do the 14th too. We're going to do another Donald Trump, Mr. President, because that's his birthday. So we're going to do a Mr. Trumpathon. And, so if you guys got things to say, look at the last Mr. President episode and see how we did it. So I think we'll follow suit. I mean, that went pretty well, right? The way that we did it last time. So that's the way I think we'll do it. So if you guys got things that you want to say to the president, do what we did last time, which I'm having a fog in the brain. So we'll go back and look and see what we did. But all right, guys, thank you so much. And we'll, same time, same place. That's not even it. That's not even what I was trying to do. This is ridiculous. I got some things to do before Sharon's show. There we go. All right, thanks, guys. Have a good night. Bye, Tiff. I'll see you tomorrow.
In a small town where the mountains climb, Tiff and the Punisher fight through time against a force that's cold and cruel, trying to save the family's golden rule. In the snowy reach of Alaskan nights, we stand our ground in the chaos tonight. Voices roaring, we won't go down without a fight. Broken laws and shattered dreams we see. CPS no longer will decide what's meant to be. Don't tread on us, we scream into the void. Parents torn apart, families destroyed. We march forward, hearts ablaze with pride. Injustice crushed as we gather side by side. Abolish the chains and break the system. tonight. Voices roaring, we won't go down without a fight. Broken laws and shattered dreams we see. CPS no longer will decide what's meant to be. Don't tread on us, we scream into the void. Parents torn apart, families destroyed. We march forward, hearts ablaze with pride. Injustice crushed as we gather side by side. Abolish the chains and break the system down. No more kids for cash in this twisted town. Make parenting great with freedom as our goal. Here Tiff and the Punisher, we're reclaiming control. Constitutional